pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you have a cell phone and you have not already done so, please silence them so that we don't have them going off during the meeting. Ms. Patty, do we have anybody for public input? All right, thank you. If not, we'll move on to item E, which is approval of the agenda. Board members, take a look, see if you have questions, additions.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion to approve by Mr. Williams, a second by Ms. Marhevsky. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Item F is a request to address the board. We have Ms. Linda Johnson of Lifewise Academy. If you would like to come up to the podium.
Thank you so much. Good evening to everyone, and thank you for this great opportunity to address the board with our program. So, Linda Johnson, Program Director for Lifewise Academy, Franklin County. This is a new program that we're attempting to launch in the fall. That's our plan at Cowan Elementary. I came and spoke to the board about just a program overview before, so I'm back to just answer any questions that you may have. And you have in your packet that I gave you school official frequently asked questions. So these are the most common questions that school officials have about our program, such as legality, safety, liability. Is it disruptive? You know, are the students missing out on some of their core classes and that kind of thing? Is it good for the students? Are they going to fall behind academically? The answer is no to that. And this is explained here, and I'll be glad to explain it in a little bit more detail. So we do plan to start in the fall at Cowan Elementary, and we have a church, Hope Baptist Church. The leadership of the church has agreed to be a host site for these Bible-based character education classes. And so for each class, we have chaperones that are vetted by Lifewise. Everybody who works with Lifewise undergoes a background check. So state and federal background check. They have to be an active member of their church. They have to have a reference from their pastor as well. So safety and security are paramount with Lifewise. We have extensive security and safety protocols that have to be followed. No child can be left alone with an adult at any time. We have to have at least two adults. If a child needs to go to the restroom, 2 adults have to accompany that child to the restroom. So that's what our plan is, to get the program going successfully at one site, host site, and then expand it to the other schools. We also have a program that, we're thinking that we might want to start in 1st grade and maybe 5th grade. We would like to catch the 5th graders before they go on to the middle school. So that's a possibility. We're still trying to work that out. What we really need is a tentative schedule from the principal. We spoke with the principal at Clark Memorial, and she is willing to release the students during their STEM classes, and they have their STEM classes on Monday. So if we did kindergarten through 5th grade, it would be an all-day thing, but we're still trying to find a host site for those classes. We're talking to Winchester Methodist and also Grace Center of Hope about possibility of being a host site for those classes. And then at the high school level, we'd like to do something at the high school level. We have a community interest list that was started in 2023, and 24 of the community members who signed that community interest list want to see a program at the high school. So the majority would like to see a program at the high school. So we do have the possibility. Lifewise offers a 4-credit class in biblical worldview that can substitute as a half credit per semester for social studies. But that has to be approved by the principal, the local school board, and the state school board. So we're working on that, and we have a couple of pastors at Oaklawn Baptist who have offered to teach that class and also offer the church as a host site for those classes. So, do you have any? Well, I do want to mention this. Okay, this is the One Big Story Bible that we want for every child to have. It's a Bible that they can have for their own. They can take it home. They can write their name in it. It's a beautiful Bible with beautiful pictures in it. It's got beautiful pictures and a bright yellow bookmark, and
The curriculum is the Gospel Project, if you've ever heard of that. So it's an excellent curriculum. And so we have a 4-year plan to teach them about the Bible. Every lesson has a character trait, focuses on a character trait, whether it's humility, honoring your parents, respect, gratitude, reliability, dependability, all those things. So from kindergarten to 5th grade, they will learn about the Bible from the book of Genesis all the way to the book of Revelation. And we've already been able to purchase 30 of these, even though we haven't been able to enroll the students yet, because we have to have everything in place before we can open up enrollment. So we have to have a tentative schedule from the school, and we also have to have a host site, and there's a lease agreement. There's really a lot to it. There's a formal lease agreement that has to be signed, and then there's cases that we will have to pay rent for the host site, and then there's also a lease agreement for utilization of vans or buses, that kind of thing. So it's a very extensive process, and all the money has to be raised in the local community. So we can't accept any taxpayer funding. What makes this program legal is it takes place off of school property. Parents enroll their children. It's not something they have to opt out of. It's really just giving parents another option to give Bible education to their students during the school day. This does take place during the school day. That's what makes it different from before and after school programs. We are aware of the after-school program that's operating in our county. Good News Club, we fully support that. We think it's wonderful. We're not trying to take the place of that. We are behind that 100%, and we want to partner with them to reach students with the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's our goal. We don't get into the denominational differences. We just teach them about the Bible and that it's about Jesus from the book of Genesis all the way to the book of Revelation. It's one big story.
So this county on the school that's gonna have this year?
Well, we plan to start there in the fall and get the program running successfully. That'll give us time to raise money for the classroom materials and also to have our team in place. We want to make sure that and that's the advice that we've been given. We have a 3-year strategic plan, and that plan, we are planning to have the program operating in 6 schools at the end of 3 years. Of course, that's dependent on a lot of factors and cooperation and funding and building our team and that kind of thing. But we do already have a host site for Broadview Elementary. It's Bethel Fellowship Church. They've agreed to be a host site. So we just need a tentative schedule from Ms. Steele over there, the principal. I have met with her. Had a 30-minute meeting with her, and she was receptive to the program, but I think a lot of the principals were waiting for the school board policy that was recently implemented last month, allowing for the release time course policy. So hopefully that'll open those doors.
All right, there's a lot of
moving parts on this.
a lot of logistics.
Each school is different, we know that.
Yes, ma'am.
How much
time, what kind of block of time are you talking about from the time the children leave the school until the time they return back to school?
It's probably going to take about 40 minutes. It's a 30-minute class, but it's only 1 day a week for each student. But it's going to take us about 10 minutes to get them there, 10 minutes to get them back. So we're talking about 50 minutes.
And then to that, how are they
going
going
to
to
transport?
We have chaperones that are vetted by LifeWise. They will either walk them from the school to the church or other host site, or bus them. We're going to try to. We plan to start at the schools where we can walk the children and we don't have to have bus transportation because that's an extra expense. We're trying to keep the cost of the program as low as possible.
And do you have provisions for children who have special needs?
We will accommodate them in any way that we can. Being a nonprofit organization, we're not bound by the ADA guidelines, but we want to accommodate them, and we will absolutely, any way that we can. We want anyone who's interested in our program to be able to attend.
How do you make money from this? Because the students don't pay anything, right?
That's correct. That's absolutely
So
correct.
you do fundraise?
Yes, we have to raise money in the community, and it's mainly church driven, so we'll be going to different churches. We've already gone to different churches and presented the program and asking them for their support. So the churches mainly, and then businesses, we're doing a sponsorship campaign right now and just asking local businesses if they would help us out. And what we hope to do is get a big banner with the names of our sponsors at the host site for the classes to let people know who is supporting our program. But yes, it's gonna be a lot trying to fund that. We estimate about $30,000 per school per year is what it's gonna cost to operate the program.
You mentioned first and fifth grade. Are those the grades you plan to roll out to the beginning phase of it, or would it be open to all grades in county?
That's still kind of up in the air. It really depends on, we want to work with the principal. We don't want it to be disruptive, and so if we need to start with first grade, to start with one grade to get the program going, so it's not as disruptive, we're willing to work with anybody. So we just want to get the program going, and then my thought with the first grade is that it's a 4-year curriculum. So between the time they're in first grade, so we could start with first grade, and then the next year add second grade, and then third grade, then fourth, and then fifth. And that way, the students that start out in first grade will get each year of the curriculum.
Another question, do you have other people in districts where this has been successful that you've worked with and that you have contacts?
Thank you so much for asking that question. Moore County has had a program in place. They just finished their first school year. Misty Marshall is the director over there, and what I have done is gone over there myself and observe the classes. And the last time I went over there, sometimes I take other people over there because it really blesses your heart to see the children in the classes. And they've got their little LifeWise shirt on, they got their little Bible, and they're just so excited. They just really enjoy it. And the last time I went, she put me to work, and she said she wouldn't have even been able to have class that day if I wasn't coming. So I was one of the volunteers that walked them over to the school, and it took longer than I thought because it's Lynchburg Elementary. They walk from there, and it's actually a longer walk than I thought. And then they walk over to Lynchburg First Baptist Church. But it took about 10 minutes or so, and they're not exactly fast. They're really not in any hurry, to get back to school. So, it's kind of
only volunteers with LifeWise that will be transporting these kids in their walks and in their travels.
Yes, everyone has to be vetted by LifeWise. And incidentally, for the classes, every class has to have video camera inside the classroom that's monitored. And so if a church doesn't have that, we have to provide it. And that's for the children's protection and our protection as well.
And where are you meeting in County?
Hope Baptist Church.
Baptist Church in County.
Yes, so you've got the elementary school right in the middle of town, and then there's the road that runs right in front of the school, and then there's a side road that goes back behind the school. So the children, that side road, it's not got much traffic on it at all. It's just a really slow road, and so they could walk from the back of the church over to the school, and it would be really safe. It's not a road that's heavily trafficked.
And they participate only on parent permission request.
Correct. Parents have to enroll their children, and parents have to enroll their children, and that enrollment form has to be registered with the school before they can even participate. And we also take attendance at every class, and if the school official wants the attendance record, we will definitely provide that as well. If we have any issues with a student, we will inform the school, inform the principal or the point of contact at the school.
Do you maintain a student-adult ratio?
Yes. It's for every 10 students, there has to be a teacher and 2 volunteers.
What about your liability if a child gets hurt?
Yes, so LifeWise has its own liability insurance. So the moment that children leave the school property, LifeWise becomes responsible for their safety. So we have liability insurance that is primary. That's one thing that the national organization provides. We have to pay the national organization $20 per student per year that's enrolled, and that's because they provide legal help, they provide liability insurance, they provide the curriculum. I think that they have IT, they have coaching, they have training and other support. They have a support center in Hilliard, Ohio that we can contact anytime that we need help. So it really helps. Even though this has been legal for the past 70 years, it's been hard to implement a release time program because of the money that it takes, the logistical obstacles and that kind of thing. So LifeWise, at the national level, it is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. They developed a model that was successful in Van Wert, Ohio, and they were thinking they might have like maybe 20% of the student population enrolled, but before it was over, they had 95% of the student population enrolled in their program.
Generally, what part of the curriculum is like just likewise substitute of the state curriculum?
It can be like a specials rotation, so STEM. I think it's called Discovery at the Elementary School. So it can be STEM, art, library, music. Misty Marshall over in Moore County was doing her classes during lunch, but she did not recommend that because it's really difficult because they're having to carry their lunch over, and I don't know if they have much time. It's probably a shorter time if they're doing it during their lunch. So she strongly discouraged that. So STEM is what I'm thinking, and that's what Ms. Saylor over at Clark suggested, that they be released during their STEM class, which is like a 50 to an hour minute class.
Every week.
It doesn't have to be every week. It really depends on the enrollment and needs of the parents that are wanting to enroll their children. So it could be once a week. It could be, they do it different ways. I can get you some sample schedules. Some of them do it like every day for like 3 weeks, and then some of them do once a week, once a day. Some of them do like one class. Moore County has 1st grade through 8th grade, and so they do like almost every day that they have classes, but it's during their lunch. There is a, I'm sorry.
So
Essentially, your first year here is going to be your pilot program, to see what works and how it all shapes up.
Correct. And so we'll be working with the principal. So if she is comfortable with just one class, or if she's comfortable with 2, whatever works. And it's going to depend also on student enrollment. Initially, our enrollment might be low, but then it should grow over time. That's what we're hoping for, of course. They do have a program in Lincoln County. There is a young girl running that one over there, and it's really doing well. She's only 23, and she does mission work at her church, and so it's going really well for her. She even had a church that donated $40,000 so she could start her first year. So we hope something like that would happen. That would be nice. So.
And so, who founded this? Where did it come from? What kind of faith tradition does it come out of? And then, how did you come to get involved? How did you find out?
All good questions. Thank you for asking. So, LifeWise was founded in 2018 in Ohio, and they developed this pilot program they actually built a building to hold the classes, and they raised like $500,000 in like 6 months and started it there and got it going there. That was your first question. And then,
how did this come about? Like, what's the backstory? What was their faith background?
Well, it is not non-denominational. It is. We do have a statement of faith that explains what we believe, what our statement of faith is. I can get that to you. It really lines up a lot with the Baptist Faith and Message. If you've ever read that, it's very similar to that. The way I got involved, I was listening to American Family Radio last year in September, and I heard them mention it, and it caught my attention, and I said to myself, I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know it was possible. And so I checked into it, and they were working on they had formed a steering committee, so my husband and I joined the steering committee. And so this program is launched in phases, and so we're like in stage 7, so fully launching in stage 10. And so now the steering committee has been disbanded, and now I'm working on forming my board. We've got 6 members on our board right now, so you can, it's recommended to have between 6 and 9. we're looking for volunteers. So we're in the stage of building our team. Volunteers, teachers. Teachers have to be certified through LifeWise. They don't have to be state certified, but they do have to have at least 2 years of classroom experience. And then LifeWise has its own teacher training program. Did I answer everything? You can also go to lifewise.org for the answers to those questions, because it talks about how it founded and the founding people behind it, why they did it. Basically, they wanted to solve the problem of the fact that there's been a great increase in anxiety, depression, and suicide in young people. There's also a lot of bullying that goes on, and LifeWise was formed to also address that and to let children know that they're special, that they were created by God, that they all have a purpose, they are loved by God, and that has made a difference. It really has made an impact. There's lots of stories. If you go to the website, there's videos of testimonies of children and their parents talking about LifeWise and what an impact it's had on their family. Because a lot of times what happens is a child gets saved in LifeWise class, and then they tell their parents, and we refer them to a local church. It helps grow the local churches. There's been a decline in membership, especially with young people, and so this program's designed to help them grow their church as well. So a lot of times the children go home and they ask their parents after they've been in class, why haven't you told me about Jesus? Why haven't you told me about the Bible? And then the parents wind up going to church with them. And so I met a lady at my training. I went to training in Ohio in Hilliard boot camp training is what they call it. And I was sitting next to a lady who is now a program director, but her daughter was being bullied at school, and so she enrolled her in a LifeWise class, and it made all the difference in the little girl's life. And she just, got confident and learned that there's a lot of people there who love her, a loving teacher, other children who were loving and accepting, and felt like she was part of that group. And so the mother wound up becoming a program director. So she's a program director now. But there's lots of stories on the website, lifewise.org, and then we also have a local page. So it's lifewise.org/FranklinTN. And it's Franklin TN because I don't think they realized there was a Franklin, so that may have to be changed at some point, because I don't know if they have a program in Franklin. They do also have a program in Rutherford County that is very successful. And Susan Buback is the director over there. And she's my mentor right now, so I do have people I can talk to.
Ms. Johnson, just whenever you get your volunteers, we'd like a list of your volunteers and copies of their background checks.
That can definitely be provided. Absolutely. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
All right,
All right,
we'll
move on into the agenda. Item G, which is the
approval of the consent agenda. We have minutes from our last meeting in May there, and there's some field trips for FC, boys basketball camp, FFA, girls soccer camp, and a girls soccer tournament later on in September.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Mr. Williams, a second by Ms. Roberts. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. That takes us to the director's
All
report.
right, so the last school that we have for Spotlight is Franklin County High School. Ms. Brittany Butler.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about Franklin County. We've had our share of challenges this year, but I think we've accomplished a lot. And so I'm going to give you some very surface level highlights just for the sake of time. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. So we'll start with the athletics. I think almost all of our teams had winning seasons this year, so we're really proud of that. We did have, and thank you, Joe, I stole his, with permission, stole his graphic for Brandon Walker. I asked him if I could use it. But Brandon Walker won the state title in the high jump this year, so we were incredibly proud of his accomplishments. We did have 8 students who signed to continue to play collegiate sports in various fields. And then probably one of the highlights, I guess, of our the year for me was our alumni game and the money that the county raised, not only for the Multi-County Cancer Support Network, but also for one of our own, Grayson Baggett and her family. That was a really neat night. I don't know if you were there, but it was a very special event that kind of came out of again, a challenge when the games got canceled. And so that was just a special night. It was neat to be there, neat to see. I did not get to watch half the game because when I got there, they said the money's overflowing. We need another box. And so that was a great problem to have. But proud of all that we accomplished on the athletic side. Fine Arts is growing and again has been very successful. Our show for theater this year was The Little Mermaid. We also hosted. Sister went to that. That's mine. Sorry. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. We also hosted elementary school students. That's what I was getting ready to say. Elementary kids came over. We had probably 500 in the building along with teachers. Some of our students who typically would not be able to see that also were able to attend, so they really enjoyed it. We see on the bottom right-hand side, that is our show choir who performed at Franklin Manor at Christmas, and then our spring band concert, that's an ensemble from that, and they celebrated the 250th birthday of America. Academically, we are making gains. We still, I don't think we'll ever, to me, we'll never arrive. We always want to be improving. But I think we have made some really solid gains in the past few years, and we're still striving to do that. The top left picture are the guys that you met at the last board meeting who all scored 30 or above on their ACT for the March ACT. The right-hand side, you will see our fall college and career fair, so we have a great turnout for that. Our juniors and seniors get to attend, go around and talk to people and see opportunities that are there. And then on the bottom picture, this is our Hispanic Heritage Month, so our students enrolled in Spanish classes learned about the 21 Spanish-speaking countries. We also have things like senior mock interviews that we participate with in the Chamber of Commerce. Lots of opportunities for our students to get some real-world experience. Data, I mean, I could stand up here all day and talk about this, but I'm not. So we had a school letter grade of a B. The data at the very top on the far right side is a little bit skewed because it's only the fall data. Those numbers are not back yet from the state for me to incorporate those. And so math looks like we made great gains, but most of the honors classes were tested in the fall, whereas our general classes will be in the spring, so that's why the data is the way that it is. I was proud, though. We have a lot of ways to go, again, in our ACT, areas of growth, but we did not lose ground on our ACT for the first time in a couple of years, and so I was happy about that. We are incorporating things like the ACT boot camp. I taught that actually the last couple of years, the English section of that, just keeping my feet wet in the teaching world a little bit. And then we are piloting an ACT prep class for this coming year as a half credit, trying to just keep making some gains in that area. And then the bottom level is just state data. Again, we're level 5 in growth. Achievement is a level 3, so we have room to grow there. And then our CCR. Facility upgrades. Ms. Miller did a lot of this stuff before she went out on leave. And so the stadium has been repainted. We've made some repairs to press boxes there. We have also repaired some railings that were hanging over. All of that was fixed before graduation. Also, as you know, the gym floors have been redone. And then our cafeteria also got a facelift with some new graphics, tables, chairs, that kind of thing. And then CTE, CTE is always doing something. They're always going on a field trip or some kind of competition. So I just kind of chose a couple to highlight. Again, there are too many to put up here. The pictures would be microscopic. But Jordan Hart is on the left. He won first place at the state championship welding competition for CTE. And then on the right side, you see some of our students who were in the Nissan Center of Excellence program with Ms. Kim Ballard, who is the coordinator for work-based learning in CTE. And so they've done a great job. Those kids really get great experience in the program. Ms. Abby Anderson was also featured as an Educator of the Week with WKRN. I did not get a picture of her, but tons of things that we've just been able to do in the CTE world. I also, about an hour before I got here, received a text from Case and Orr. If you were familiar that the RAM clinic went on over the weekend at the high school, full disclosure, I was very nervous, hesitant about hosting an event of that scale because it was enormous. And so I have to give them kudos. Our building was put back together very well. It was very clean for the number of people they had in there, so I was happy about that. Kaysen wanted me to share with you, these are tentative numbers. He anticipates that they will go up as they continue to audit their books. But they did over $200,000 worth of medical care. 116 of that was dental. They had 284 volunteers. They saw 244 patients. They distributed 142 pairs of glasses and did 55 dental cleanings, 89 fillings, took 98 dental x-rays, and did 161 extractions. So in that time. So it was very successful. And so it was neat to see a little full circle moment. I had some of those kids in class, and now they're coming back and bringing things back to our county. So I was proud of that. Do you have any questions for me? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so on the maintenance report from Mr. Clark, a lot going on this summer. In addition to what's on the list, they're doing preventative maintenance in all the buildings. One other project that I did not have on the list is they are required to renovate one of the restroom stalls at one of our elementary schools to make it ADA compliant for one of our, I think a kindergarten student, but I may be wrong about that. The central office windows have been replaced. And I think, let's see, there's something else maybe up there that's finished. The carpeting at Franklin High School, they started that today, I believe. So, but also just, so you might be interested in seeing how many work orders the maintenance department had this school year. And they did a great job getting those finished. They still have some that are still unfinished.
If you look at that completion rate, that's amazing.
Yeah, they do a great job.
That's a great job.
So a lot going on in HR, a lot of hiring going on. We have, we still have some positions open. The 27, I think that's changed. We've actually hired some positions. We met with the principals last week and asked about their current openings. And I also asked if they had good qualified applicants, and they indicated that they did for their open positions. So feel good about those. We'll have our positions filled before school starts. And that's it for me.
Is that it? Okay,
I think that's it.
thank you. That takes us to item I, which is the legislative update. Ms. Marhevsky?
Okay, so here, I've shared a lot of the big things, but here's just a little more general information. And from my last legislative liaison meeting with TSBA, they shared that around 1,300 bills total were filed this legislative session, but that doesn't count the ones that were still alive from last year, because they work in sort of 2-year blocks. And so last year and this year are kind of taken together, and so that means that if something kind of didn't die last year, it could still be brought back this year without counting as a new bill. Around 200 of them were related to education and school boards, and about 90 of them became law. So here are a few more that became law that we haven't really talked about yet. One is that an individual holding an elected office of a local government shall not hold another elected office in this state at the same time. There's a little bit of a caveat in that if you already do before January 1st, you can keep them both. But if you let one go, you cannot then have two again. There is a shift in hiring, like local governing bodies hiring at the director level for us that just would impact our director hiring in the future. Not that we need to worry about that for a nice long time, Roger. But now it gives a little more flexibility, because one of the challenges, of course, is that with the Sunshine Law, everything has to happen in public, which can be stressful for everyone, candidates included, who may not want to be super public about what they're doing as they're figuring out whether it's the right fit. And so it allows like a school board, in this case, to interview director candidates in an executive session instead of in public. But this will go for any other body, like governing body, that elects someone. There is the Better Spending, Better Schools Act that requires more budgetary paperwork for school districts. Everybody loves more paperwork. Local assessments. They're going to collect locally administered standardized assessments. And so like these I think would be our benchmark testing. And so these will be online also, which hopefully will be a plus, because as far as I know right now, what people really have access to is TCAP scores, which only tells one very small picture. So this will give a little bit more information. So for the first time, there is going to be like a review board with 9 teachers who will review the actual TCAP test. And I guess this is the first time that teachers are going to have real access to this sort of after the fact. And they will also be looking at all questions where 65% or more of students missed the question. And I think this kind of gets at one of the things that we often wonder about. So we put a lot of faith in this, like, oh, our students are doing well or our students aren't doing well. What do we really know about the test and whether that's really a great test or not? So I'll be interested to see what comes of this.
Sarah, on this review board, is this 9 teachers from where?
That I don't know. I don't know who's choosing these 9.
Is there an application?
We should find out.
And do they have any decision-making power? What is there, do they have any power at all? Or are they allowed to make requests?
Are they just
or-
advisory, or are they?
Right. I'm just curious.
That was my point, you know, if you just, yes, we've got a board of 9 teachers and you're allowed to look at it, but, you know. Yeah.
I will ask questions.
Can we
Report.
talk about it? That's what I want to know.
All good questions. Okay.
What's it called, not the TCAP advisory?
Yeah, I'm sure it has an actual name, but yes, it's like a TCAP advisory
See if we can read
council.
it.
Something. So one bill that didn't go through, but TSBA thinks is likely to come back next year, is an open enrollment. So obviously there's been a big push with the vouchers, the Freedom Scholarship Act, EFS, Education Freedom Scholarships. There's also a push for universal open enrollment, which is kind of the public school side of that, which would let students go to whichever public school they want to. And that one hasn't passed. So that one's a little bit tricky, because then what happens? Are you sending your own money with the kid? How does that work? But that's likely to come back next year, so that's worth thinking about your thoughts on that. A little bit on federal updates. So last year there'd been a lot of talk about the federal government trying to basically cut some of our title funding, and there's an effort for that. Again, they're proposing to slash $1.6 billion, or 9% of the annual Title I formula dollars for low-income students, eliminate billions of formula dollars for teacher professional development and English learner services, and nix competitive grants for community school initiatives and teacher training, among others. On the flip side, the funding would slightly increase special ed money, impact aid for school districts with non-taxable federal property, education for Native American students, and Head Start. So again, we'll see how things hash out, because last year the cuts they wanted to make, they didn't make, for which we were very grateful, and we hope that the same story will be told this year. But as always, if you have particular thoughts about any of these issues, please share them with our legislators. It helps when they hear your voices. Anyone else have anything to report or share? Thanks.
Thank you. Item J, Finance, Ms. Jenny.
This month is
Motion to receive the May 2026 financial report.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams to
Receive.
receive, okay, and then Ms. Casey, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
Motion to approve the June 26 budget amendment.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams and a second by Ms. Roberts to approve the budget amendments. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries as well. That takes us to the new business. Item K, one there is a request to approve the transfer of the Clark Memorial Activity Account from Truist to Citizens Tri-County Bank. Dr. Austin, have you talked with them or no?
I have not, no. I'm not sure why they want to make the move.
They're having some issues with Truist
Okay,
that we fully understand.
okay,
So they are just wanting to switch to more.
okay.
You're supportive of this?
Yes, I talked to Ms. Wanda and we talked through what she needs to do to make that change and get everything squared away.
Motion to approve the transfer from Truist to Citizens Tri-County.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams, a second by Ms. Schultz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries too.
I have a question
Yes,
about
ma'am.
that before we move on. So does it vary from school to
Yes.
school?
They-
And that's just personal?
The schools can choose, and a lot of it depends on location.
Okay,
But it is their account, so
Okay.
they can choose and they can go, one way or another interest rates.
We have some
Okay.
schools that the general fund is at one bank and the cafeteria fund's at another bank. So
okay,
it's-
I was just curious about that.
ESP has their own, it's.
They're separate
it's
accounts.
just a preference.
Okay, thank you.
All right, item number 2 is a proposal from Huntland School to rename Jeff Street to Majors Way. Ms. Crabtree, would you like to speak to that?
This was brought to me by a few people in the community that felt, it would be a nice way to honor the Majors family who still supports us with quite hefty scholarships from time to time. I did learn from the city that Jeff Street was property of the school system after building the, you don't call it new high school wing, I guess, as we go forward. But that did become property of the school, and it was our decision, the city was fine with that, was the reason for the proposal.
And so Jeff Street isn't named after someone whose feelings are gonna be hurt?
It was the house that stood where the school is now sitting, that is no longer there. They had a son named Jeff, and it was named Jeff Street when that house was there, which is no longer there. I did ask that question as well.
They moved it. Motion to approve, proposal to rename Jeff Street to Majors Way.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Williams, a second by Ms. Roberts. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. That takes us to items 3 and 4. I think that if you want to take the time, I hope you've already taken the time to individually look at those proposals. But item 3, which is compiled, or compilation, 4, excuse me, a compilation of those, really is easier for me to follow. So if you want to refer back individually to anyone, feel free to do so.
One of the things I had a question about was the Huntland one and about band. I know you got a new band guy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yay. And one of the things just says like instrument maintenance. And I just wonder if that's something that has been part of the charges before, or if that's usually school responsibility, because the band fee was $100, so I was just wondering about that one.
Well, I called, I'll tell you, the new director has a lot of ideas about increasing, marching season, in particular. I called, Franklin County High School to check and see what their fee was per band. Our fee in the past had been $60, and with the cost increases in trying to repair instruments, also purchase music, a lot of that has gone up, and we're still well below, where they were with the high school as far as that's concerned, but bumped a little bit to help cover those costs. Of course, we have the per student money that we use in secondary and elementary to help with music supplies and things of that nature. But this covers, some of it is their, camp, they have a camp t-shirt, that goes with that.
That was my question. That's my question.
I don't see any fees for your cheerleaders.
They do a lot of fundraising, is what I understood.
The
So,
parents pay,
do the cheerleaders at Franklin County pay the $750 and then they still need to fundraise?
I talked with Thompson today, just to get some figures, just to put this into perspective. They go to camp, it's a 4-day camp, and that camp is $650 per girl. So there's your good base right there. And then particularly if you are new to the squad, then you have warm-ups to buy, you have backpacks to buy, they have to buy palms, shoes, there's just any number of things, bows, the list goes on and on. And typically, she said that they start out with $550 for the girls, and they do a lot of fundraising. And if it's necessary, especially for the new ones, then they may have to go back in and pay an extra $200 if that happens. But I think most of the time, a lot of it is covered by the fundraising.
I do a lot of fundraising.
Yeah.
A lot of fundraising.
So, I mean, it looks like a lot of money, but it costs a lot of money.
Yes, ma'am, it does.
It's just,
cheerleading is not a cheap sport.
no, it is not. No,
We
it's
can
not.
in the future, if you would like for Huntland's cheer coaches to include what they ask, I mean, when it comes to, I can more than have to ask them to do that.
And I tell you, it's probably gonna be, well, depending on how many girls you have, and depending on where they go to camp, too.
I'm gonna say about $650, Ms. Cleo, I'm gonna guess.
It's not for the faint of heart.
That's just getting
It
started.
is, I'm telling you.
Have boys, not like Jake.
It would be for both of our principals. Do these kinds of expenses eliminate any of your students' participation? Do they just see that amount, or parents see that amount and say, this is not for you? I'm always concerned about those who have the potential or need that sense of belonging,
We
or,
don't pay them.
Want to be part of the team, et cetera, et cetera. That's a lot of money. I mean, it just hits a family with a lot of money, and particularly today in this world, as we continue to raise fees for things in school and things that we have no control over in our environment. I just don't want any child to feel like he or she cannot participate in any sport because it has a big fee attached to it.
I don't believe that's happening. I would tell you if I did. I've talked to some of our coaches to make sure that that's not happening, and they have assured me, I mean, we have students, all the time who struggle to pay those fees. So that's where that fundraising comes in, so they can do the fundraising to help offset and alleviate those things. So I don't believe that the fees are keeping them from participation.
I will say this, just to maybe a little perspective. We have some community members who are former cheerleading parents who have helped to pay in the past or have donated amounts to cover for children that do not. And as far as numbers are concerned right now, I have at least twice as many cheerleaders as I have basketball players, and 1.5 times as many cheerleaders probably as I have soccer players. So the money there does not seem to affect numbers.
Your student body or your family to know that if it's a hardship for them, it will not eliminate their child.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my concern.
Yes, ma'am.
That the children are not discouraged from participating.
Motion to approve the fee request for FY '27 for FCHS and HHS.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams and a second by Ms. Linda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Takes us to item 5, which is policy 6.312, and that is the cell phone and other communications devices policy. Dr. Alsop?
Yes, we presented this last month at the board meeting, and for our first reading, and hoping to get some feedback from community members. I haven't received anything, so we're asking for full approval tonight of this policy.
You'll get feedback the first week of school.
They'll get feedback first.
That's right. Motion to approve on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion to approve on second reading, the cell phone and other devices policy. A second by Ms. Marhevsky. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Takes us to item 6, which is policy 4.214, and that is the use of artificial intelligence.
So there's no change to this policy. We're required to, the board's required to approve this. We have to have an approval on it prior to July 1st, and we have to submit this to the state every year before July 1st. Now, we may want to make a change to it whenever it comes up for that section of policies to be reviewed.
I think that's in November.
That's in November, okay. So tonight, the only thing I'm asking the board to do is to approve this policy so we can submit it in time.
So the end part of this, the reporting, it says, the director of schools shall submit a report to the Board of Education each June on how this policy will be enforced in the upcoming school year. So is there a report for us?
Not a report, just the policies, what we've done in the past, submitted the policy.
Is the,
Next June.
So
because the end says there should be a report.
so students have to have permission in order to use AI? Is that,
Sorry.
students have to have permission in order to use AI? They have to sign a permission slip?
They're only allowed to use certain things in certain classes. You can't
But you have to have that permission slip to use that, or?
Yeah, you can't use AI to write a paper and.
Oh, well.
No, but it says notice to parents. It
Yeah,
says
yes,
there will be
yes.
permission slips to parents and guardians about the use of AI programs in the district. And so I was wondering, like, what kind of, because like on the first page, it says, the director of schools shall incorporate training programs on AI into professional development for the district staff. I know you were not director of schools this last year, but was there training for employees on the use of AI and how to integrate AI usage into the classroom?
I'm not sure if there was any training for our faculty and staff. I don't know.
All you can say is there will be next year.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion to approve policy 4.214.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams, a second by Ms. Schultz to approve policy 4.214. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries as well. Takes us to item 6, which is surplus CTE equipment and advertisement on Gov Deals. Ms. Suzanne is not here tonight, but I'm assuming that.
Looks like a bunch of crap.
No, I didn't say that.
Doesn't work.
I think it needs to be surplus. I'll just put it that way.
Motion to approve CTE surplus equipment.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the CTE surplus equipment by Ms. Roberts, a second by Mr. Williams. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 has already been taken care of, so there's no need for us to discuss that at all tonight. Item L, under discussion, is another policy, and it's policy 4.205, which is on enrollment in advanced courses. And Ms. Marhevsky had some question about our policy. I will say this, I feel like, I don't know, I'm curious to know what your intent is by bringing this, because a lot of it is verbatim to what we have already have covered in policy. Second comment would be that anything that we talk about and we feel might be good as far as a policy change, I feel like it really needs to go before the people that deal with these programs within our schools, because they're the ones that came up with the rubrics for this policy to begin with. So, but that's it.
But I wanted to at least sort of start a conversation about this, because it's something that we voted in last year, and I had some qualms about it then, because I think it was a shift in how students could get into advanced courses. And so I checked with TSBA. So, just briefly, so to get into honors classes right now, we don't have them in middle school, as far as I understand, it's just high school. And so going from middle school to high school, right now with our policy, the way for students to get into honors courses is they have to be at meets or exceeds the standards, like on the TCAP. And so if you're approaching or below, it doesn't matter what your grades are in your classes, you aren't eligible to be in honors classes. I think before, like teacher recommendations had been part of it, and I think what I gathered from before was that maybe that piece wasn't working perhaps. And so I followed up with TSBA and I asked for some more information about how other districts are doing this. And of course, some are doing it this way also. But for instance, like Metro Nashville, to get into honors classes or industry certification courses or other kinds of classes, you need to have an 80 or higher in whatever your previous class was, and or a TCAP of on track or mastery. So it kind of allowed for your grades in the class or your testing. And I mean, my goal here is to find some different ways maybe to approach this, because I think we all know people, or some of us have been those people who maybe aren't great testers, but are quite capable of doing the work. And so I'm just interested in further conversation and ideally finding a way maybe to find some middle ground, and to give a little more leeway for kids who might do well in honors classes and where that opportunity could help support them academically. And in part, and I have more examples, but also in part, if you are hoping to go on to college, part of what colleges look at is the kind of courses you're taking based on what your school offers. And so let's say you're just in kind of the regular track and you get all A's. That's great. We applaud you. Colleges, however, will say, oh, but you have honors classes, you have AP classes, and you weren't in those. So you didn't take the hardest academic program you could, and a student who was in those would sort of be looked at differently. And so there's a way that for students who are interested in being college bound, it can kind of hurt their opportunities later if they don't have that chance. And so it's kind of one of the reasons to perhaps reconsider this. Rutherford County has options. It can be, you have to be like on track, sort of at meets or exceeds, or have a C or higher in the previous course, or parent or teacher recommendation is considered. I feel like that gives a lot of leeway. I feel like A and B, you feel pretty good about. Honors, a C, maybe not as much. But again, I'm just sharing other examples. I don't think I would advocate for the C. McMinn, I was intrigued by theirs. So you have to have a minimum of 5 points in their system. So if on your TCAP, if your exceeds expectations, you get 4 points. If you're on track, you get 3, approaching 2, below 1. And then you have points for your grade. So if you get 4 points, if you have an A in that class, and 3 points if you had a B, and there could be a teacher recommendation. And so you could get to 5 points and get into an honors class that way. Williamson County has a vaguer, we'll evaluate these different things. And so I think it's worth revisiting our policy. And then I'm just going to talk about our test scores briefly, because I think it makes one additional argument for why it might be a good thing to do. So if you look at our own TCAP tests, so in 2025, roughly 38% of our elementary school students were meeting or exceeding expectations. So roughly 37%. Roughly 23% of our middle school students were meeting or exceeding expectations. And then roughly 41% of our high school students were meeting or exceeding expectations. So, like, if you just averaged our elementary and high school scores, you'd be at like 38% of students who would be eligible to be in honors classes. But if you just look at our middle school numbers, that was 23%. So from elementary school, it's a 13% drop. From high school, it's like an 18% drop. And so clearly our students are doing well, there are more students who'd be eligible for those based on their scores in elementary school or based on their scores in high school. And so, I don't think our students are somehow less smart in middle school than they were in elementary school or than they are in high school. And so again, I think that looking at a different system could account for that. And then I looked at 2022, I was like, maybe 2025 was an anomaly. And actually our middle school scores were exactly the same. 23.1% of students in 2025 and 23.1% of students in 2022 were at or above. And again, it was sort of a 8% less than the elementary school numbers and 8% less than the high school numbers in 2022 even. So again, to recap then, I would like us to revisit the policy because I think that our middle school test scores aren't accurately reflecting our students' abilities and whether they really deserve to be in honors classes. And I think if we are hoping to give students an opportunity to set them up for success in the college track, it would help if we allowed more of those opportunities to our students. Thank you.
So I guess it would behoove us to go back to our committee and have them take a look and reassess and then bring something back to us.
Again, like McMinn is the county, I like their policy. Particularly, I did.
All right. Anything else? You'll note the meetings that are at the bottom there. You can read them as well as I can. Any further comments? Motion to adjourn?
Second.